immensely important. So far, things are going about as well as they could possibly go. So far, things are going almost perfectly. Nonetheless, I think the odds of success are probably about 50-50. And I'll tell you why that's the case. I think there are two fundamental issues that are going to be absolutely vitally important. The first one is money and paying for it. It is very expensive to cover people. Everybody knows that. As I said, the president took a huge start in this in the spring, covering more children, making unemployed workers eligible for tax subsidies so they can get health insurance. But it's going to be very expensive. In an era where the budget is a mess because of what was left over, and where the economy fell off a cliff, and where people are worried about the long-term fiscal stability of the country, finding the money to pay for it is a very big deal. The president put forward in his budget $630 billion as a down payment on this and said he wanted to work with Congress to figure out how to do that and more. Of course, as soon as he put it down, half of it was from savings and assistance, half of it was from new revenues. As soon as he put it down, people started naturally complaining about it. That's right. People, it's a hard thing to do. And then people stopped complaining and said, okay, look, there's heavy lifting we've got to do. We've got to find some way to do this. And so what's happening now is the various committees, the Senate Finance Committee, in the House, and the Health Committee, they're all sitting around and saying, how much money do we think we can get by reforming the healthcare system? How much money can we raise through sin taxes or through other kinds of mechanisms? How can we get the money that we need to make this happen? Hopefully, they can reach agreement on that, and we'll be able to do it. But it's a very big issue. It's an absolutely huge issue. It's one of the things that always bedevils these plans, is the money. And so that's the first one. And there's a lot of work going back and forth about what exactly can you do and how can you do it and so on. The second one is the partisan divide that always comes about what is the role of government in something like healthcare. You know the debate about the public insurance plan and all of that? You know what that's really about. That is about not should the government be helping people. No, that debate is about how much should the government be involved in helping people in healthcare or not. That's just one part of it. You can have that debate a million times over. You could have that debate about what's covered by benefits packages. You could have that debate about where you get various kinds of savings. You could have that debate about insurance things. And it will come up over and over again. And what people are going to have to make peace with is the role of the government. Now, there are not the votes there for anything like a government-run system. And similarly, with the Democrats in charge, we're not going to go in the way of just throwing everybody to the wolves. But where that middle ground is, and can you reach that middle ground, is the key issue. And interestingly, what you're seeing is you're seeing many of the Republicans saying, look, I don't like that public plan, but I'm willing to look for a compromise. And I don't like this and that about the government, but I'm willing to talk to you about it. So far, what you're seeing are people talking, which is great. It reflects the efforts of Senator Baucus. It reflects the efforts of Senator Kennedy. It reflects the efforts of President Obama. It reflects a lot of people's efforts to try and say, let's have a big table and sit around and talk about it and not yell at each other and throw things at each other, which is what the president promised to do and what he's doing. That's why the interest groups are all coming to the table. They're not running ads opposing it, but they're coming and wanting to be helpful. So whether this can happen or not, I don't know, but I am hopeful. What's it going to depend on? I think it's going to depend on two related things. The first thing it's going to depend on is how is the issue framed. Many of you will have heard that Frank Luntz, who's a Republican pollster, put out a memo on how you would defeat the Obama healthcare plan. What's interesting about it is he said, you cannot oppose healthcare. No American will listen to you if you oppose healthcare reform. The way you ought to oppose President Obama on healthcare is to talk about government bureaucracies, big bureaucrats running the healthcare system. When the language is that, then it goes down to defeat. When the language is, This is helping people and saving money and making life better for people, then it wins. So that is the first thing. And the related thing is that it's going to come down to the middle of the spectrum, the moderate Democrats, the moderate Republicans, such as there are of them these days. And do they feel comfortable enough to do this? And they're going to feel comfortable enough if the money looks right, if the role of government looks right, and if the rhetoric and the people are behind them. There are various groups on our side that are planning to spend millions of dollars pushing healthcare reform in the right way. What we need are the people around the country to be making that case. Probably less immediately in Massachusetts, thank God for our representatives. More in Maine, more in Pennsylvania, more in Delaware, more in Kansas, more in Nebraska. Everywhere around the country, every group has to unite and say, we are going to push this. We're going to push it ethically, we're going to push it economically, we're going to push it religiously, we're going to push it for all of the reasons that we can, and say, now we must do this. And that is what's going to make it happen or not happen. I'm going to stop here, and there's going to be a little more presentation and then happy to have discussions.